Yo, what's up, guys? GM. What's up, YGG fam? Welcome to another AMA with the community. And tonight we have the guys over at Illuvium giving us a visit and, of course, sharing, the 101 on, what's been happening since the release of Overworld 2. So I have my co-host here. We have No ACLs, who has been, knee deep into the game for the past few weeks. And of course, our special guests, we have Tarren and we have Andrew. How are you doing, guys?
Everything's great out here. Glad to be here.
Yeah, everything's good.
Awesome.
Excited to be
I'm
here.
good. I'm in New York City right now, which is why I'm on my phone like this in the hotel room. I'm doing fantastic. Doing so good. I can't wait to talk to you guys today.
Awesome. So, Tarren and Andrew, please do the honors of introducing yourselves. You guys are handling community, media, and also influencers in the space. Give us the 101 of what you guys do for Illuvium, and introduce yourselves to the YGG community. Go for it.
Cool. I mean, Andrew, do you want to? I'll let you go first, man.
Hi, my name's Andrew Wall. I'm host and executive producer at Illuvium. So I've been on board with Illuvium, I think longer than anyone else in marketing at this point. I produce our videos, our podcasts, live streams, and promotional content for all of our campaigns and products. And I capture all the gameplay you see online of Illuvium. I capture all of that. And I work with a really talented team of creatives that create all of our beautiful artwork and edit our beautiful videos. With the marketing team. So all those gorgeous looking videos or gameplays you see, I work with a really talented team of people at Illuvium to get that put together so that we can, number one, show everybody the eye-popping graphics and art style of Illuvium. And number two, actually show the product, actually show what Illuvium is and show it in progress and show it through every phase of development. And so it's my job to capture as much of that creative genius that's happening within Illuvium game studio as possible, and then pump it on the internet with my coworkers like TSG. So go ahead, man.
Yeah, cool. TSG or Tarren, influencer manager at Illuvium. Essentially, my role is to build, develop, and nurture relationships with influencers, make sure that we have solid relationships, strategize and really come up with ideas and opportunities that Illuvium and influencers can kind of connect and work together to make sure that it's a mutually beneficial kind of opportunity for everyone involved to get the game out to as many people as possible, at the same time providing a good experience for the influencer, trying to build out things like a creator program. We saw how that worked with Fortnite and how crucial that was to the success of Fortnite getting as big as it is. So understanding things like that is really what I'm trying to do and build out, which I don't think has been done really well in, honestly, Web 2 gaming in general. I think there's only a couple of studios that have something like that, and definitely not happening in Web 3. So my goal is to really set the standard for that in Web 3. And hopefully make a dent even in Web 2.
100%. I mean, you guys basically, you guys are the front lines, right? So we need the content. We need to see what's happening behind the hood as often as possible. And Andrew, you basically are the go-to guy for all the alpha, all the leaks that we've been seeing online. So you are the guy then. And I mean, on the other hand, right? Like we need players who can also talk about the games and also show their own communities what they are playing and what interests them. And I think that's where you come in TSG, right? And having a really solid front line, like going into war, like you're the guys, receiving and also giving out, like all the damage is gonna be the people that you guys are working with. And it's really good because here in YGG very recently, right? So we've also been putting a focus on media, just because we believe that like one, having a really good game that's aesthetically pleasing, and also something that the community can relate to, having influencers who can actually talk about these games are basically the foundation of what really really good Web3 games are going to be moving forward. So I mean, props to you guys. We love the content and we're really excited. So Overworld 2 came out a few weeks ago. We actually have a video that's on queue right now, and ACLs himself has been playing the game. And yeah, I mean, Senpu, roll video anytime you're ready. Let's go.
Let's see it. Yeah. That's
Let's
hype, man.
go.
The music,
Oh,
the visual.
this guy right here.
Oh
That's
my
this guy
God.
right here.
No way.
And the team.
Okay.
And the team.
All right, so you're the genius behind even all the sick trailers, man. So we actually did we did an overview AMA like a couple of weeks ago for Illuvium within our community, right? And our opening video that time was the Fat Boy Slim remix of I forgot what that song was. A classic, classic Fat Boy Slim song, and with the orchestral drums and the cinematics, that was insane. That was
Been a
insane.
long, long time together
Yeah.
through the hard times and the good. Yep.
Crazy.
Yep.
You remember that? Crazy.
It's
There's been
insane.
plenty of great content, honestly. I've been enjoying the game. Like, you guys have come so far since like the arena launch and then jumping into overworld and, just gradually getting a taste of each feature slowly, right? Just teasing us until you drop the next, update. So I've been enjoying it. I really like the overworld and, exploring the new worlds. The introduction of the new movement mechanics, like using that hoverboard and yeah, being able to interact with the environment, like the bubbles and the lily pads and all these different things. So really creative stuff. Thank you, Andrew, and everyone involved. Like, love what you guys are doing creatively so far. I gotta say, I saw the Taiga Boreal teasers, and I saw some of the images and concept art early on, but it reminds me of home. I'm from Canada, so I'm looking forward to winter in Illuvium, in the Illuvial realms. Can't wait to see what you guys drop there. And otherwise, the GameStop collab there with the discs being dropped, that was super awesome. Looking forward to more updates on the GameStop front and more with Immutable and what you guys are doing there. So far, so good.
Yo,
Thank you. With Overworld, go ahead, buddy.
No, I was just gonna make a joke. I was gonna say the one of the new movement mechanics about the sliding. If we can get a bit of a petition, I tried to name it and rename it. It didn't go, but if we get enough people kind of saying it, we could get it. I think we should rename it to frictionless flip flops. So if we can make that happen, that's a win for me. Sorry, Andrew.
That's definitely on lore for sure. Yeah, and all of my conversations with Grant and the creative team when it comes to Overworld, they're working very hard to push the technical limitations of what's possible to make to try to balance two factors with the Overworld. And as you see Taiga Boreal, you're seeing this as well. Obviously, each region in the Overworld needs to be completely different as a biome. And it needs to have an entirely unique composition, unique traversal mechanics, and just have an entirely different feel. Otherwise, going through the overworld and collecting alluvials will be monotonous over time. Because it's essentially like, going through the overworld is essentially like a really fancy, really beautiful looking card pack opening, essentially, where you're opening a pack of alluvial cards and resource cards, essentially, right? And so the variety needs to be there. But the challenge that the development team and creative teams are having with building these overworld regions is balancing like a timeless sort of graphical style, sort of like a World of Warcraft, with going full-blown AAA. And so they're trying to balance those two things to ensure that the number of PCs and the number of machines and maybe other platforms in the future that the overworld can run on is as wide as possible. And so that's why you're not right now seeing us juice out the latest 4000 series RTX graphics cards, AI, ray tracing on a lot of these overworld builds that the team is doing, is because we're looking to have the maximum number of players possible be able to have these experiences over the maximum period of time. We're going for millions of daily active users, and in order to do that, we can't limit the AAA graphics, eye-popping aspects of the overworld to just a small percentage of hardcore PC users. The numbers don't add up. So that puts a lot of burden on the art team and on the creative team and on the people designing overworld to make it timeless, to make it classic, but to have the composition of each asset, of each model, of each texture be so high resolution and so beautifully crafted that you get that maximum AAA feel without the maximum AAA taxing on your graphics card and on your system resources. So that's what the team is spending time on, and that's why we need to do these multiple rounds of beta tests, getting all of that performance data in so we can optimize those and have high frame rates.
Gotcha. I mean, it's definitely a balancing act, right? On what end would you be prioritizing, like, as you said, like high quality gamers, or do you want to reach, the masses of people who are interested in the game, but might always, be able to, right up front play it if they're not on their mobile phones, right? I mean, even in YGG, like a lot of our players started with Axie Infinity. Most of these guys are mobile phone gamers, but eventually, like, a cool trend that we've been noticing is that if the games that they are interested are are good and engaging, and they really like it. They actually invest in buying their own PCs, just to be able to try the very early versions of these games. And lo and behold, if they really, if the game does deliver, they actually are converted into fans, and now they, start moving on to different games, discovering more Web3 games that aren't released. And now, from mobile gamers, they're everywhere. They can play all these games now moving forward. But then for in that specific example, what game mode can we expect from the team over at Illuvium to be prioritized, right? Like, what will be, open to the majority of gamers first, and what are the second and third priorities?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that one. So our strategy right now, leading up to open beta, is to obviously beta test the 3 primary games: Illuvium 0, which is in Season 1. We just spoke about Overworld Beta 2. And then we've got upcoming, we'll call it Beta 3, let's say, for Illuvium Arena, which is going to, I think, going to be the showstopper and be the majority of what people are interested in, the PvP aspects of going into the arena and battling your Illuvials. And so all of those multiple rounds of beta tests are all leading up to an open beta for all 3 coming out simultaneously.
Nice.
So the plan is not to go open beta with one, then the other, then the other. That doesn't work for Illuvium, because we're the first game studio ever to create multiple video games that are designed on a game design level to be dependent on each other.
Yes.
With interoperability. We can't launch or even open beta one of our games without the other. If you're playing Illuvium 0 and you're getting fuel, you need to have the Overworld game exist and be ready right now and be operational on the blockchain for you to take that fuel into the Overworld, for you then to go capture Illuvials. But what's the point of capturing those Illuvials if you can't take those Illuvial NFTs and then bring them over to the arena and battle them? And so we need all 3 of those games to come out simultaneously for this whole interoperable blockchain games concept that Kieran coined the term to actually work and to be proof of concept for everybody. So that's a moment where all 3 of those games are free to play and are available to the public. And we'll see if it's some of that we'll see if it's the magic we're hoping it will be. We know we have the hook with the AAA graphics on all of these games. We know we have the hook with our IP being maybe more compelling or as compelling as anyone in the space. We'll see if the interoperability between these games and having it be baked into the game design, it's not just like a promo that you should play, Call of Duty on console, for example, and then, pick up the mobile version. It's the game actually is interoperable with the next game, and you're unlocking an experience in the next game by doing something in this game. We're hoping that will create some gameplay magic and some new experiences for players they've never had before, which will hook them into the entire Illuvium gaming ecosystem. And we've said publicly that any future games that we release will be interoperable with our existing games. And we're very careful in how deeply they're interoperable with each other with our game design. We make it so that the interoperability between the games is very simple, it's very straightforward, and it's very intuitive. And I think a lot of the conversations that happen out there around interoperability, they go straight to this Ready Player One metaverse scenario where, like, imagine if I could pop up with my character from game 1 in another game and I could fight and it would be like Ready. It's like, that's ridiculously complicated. And we're not even close to being there with video games. And so we're starting with a couple layers of interoperability between our games. The games are designed to need the interoperability, or at least to use that interoperability to do something meaningful from game to game. And it's a starting point, and I think it will be a proof case for the entire blockchain industry. This is how you do it. This is where you start. If you want your games to be interoperable with each other, you probably need to launch a bundle of game experiences together, have them be interoperable, and that's the paradigm shift, is that a bundle of different video games are now launched as one product.
Gotcha.
That's the Illuvium strategy. Look, we could fall completely on our faces with this and it could totally not be the model. But we are going outside the box. We're taking a risk here because it brings a new gameplay, a new strategy, a new meta level experience for players beyond what one video game can offer.
Gotcha.
And I
I
think-
mean, I couldn't agree more. Oh, go ahead, TSG.
But Andrew just disappeared. But I think the beauty of doing it in that way as well and dropping a bundle of games is that each game is a separate genre. So for the diehards who really want to get completely immersed in it, they can participate in all three different games.
Mhm.
Whereas I know some people are massive fans of SimCity and Clash of Clans, the city builder type games. They can stick to Illuvium Zero if that's what they find, but they're still adding into the ecosystem. Someone loves Pokemon, but they can't play auto battlers for shit. So what are they going to spend their time on? They're going to spend their time in the overworld, where that's going to be engaging for them. And then you've got the auto battlers that don't care about the other ones. They're just hyper competitive and they just want to show everyone that they're the best. They're just going to go straight to that. And you're going to have the more casual players maybe participating in 3, maybe 2 of them. And having a bundle like that actually opens up the experience for all the players, which I think, again, makes it exciting because it's not everyone coming into that ecosystem is going to have the same experience. And I think that's what's exciting. You're going to connect with people that align with you, that disagree with you, and you're going to try to collaborate together. Let's say that Andrew is that guy on Illuvium Zero and Addict, and I'm the guy that plays Overworld, and I've got a friend that's a pro. We might team up and collaborate and kind of work together in that, and it adds that kind of guild effect in a new way. So I think it's exciting to do something where it is a bundle like that. I think it's a new experience completely.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead,
For
DC.
sure. Yeah, I just want to, add some comments. It's very interesting concept overall. Like, I remember, let's say like mid 2021, we were talking about games and how they were starting to like conceptualize the move forward to interoperability and multi-game ecosystems that were like interconnected, just like you're doing here with Illuvium, right? And this is, as you mentioned, at a AAA level. So it's obviously not being done like anywhere else right now in Web3. Definitely not really in Web 2 right now. Like Fortnite's doing some, collabs that are interesting, but nowhere near this level. But I do think there are some interesting ecosystems doing some interoperable experiences, but they're not AAA, right? Like I would mention the Treasure DAO ecosystem where, like you said, Andrew, when you launch a bunch of games together and you do it at once and they have meaningful interactions and, experiences that you can participate in, it's interesting and it'll get players, engaged and wanting to pursue some activity, right? So I do think there are some like ecosystems doing it the right way, but they're nowhere near the AAA level. This is just, like pixel style games or like low level 3D animation games, but they are doing some interesting things. So I like what Illuvium's doing. We've come a long way since 2021 and I'm excited to see how you guys execute. Like I said, you're hitting GameStop. Like that's the Web 2 market. This is mainstream. So all eyes are on Illuvium and the team and what you guys are doing. So I really can't wait to see what's next.
I'll add one thing before I throw it back to you, man. It's like a great example of kind of seeing that in action is actually right now with what we have with season 1. And Andrew, I'm not sure how you feel about this, but this is the first kind of taste of that interoperability because in season 1 you were able to start collecting blueprints, which are going to act as part of the recipe for skins in the overworld. And with that already being there, we're not even able to mint it just yet. We're only going to open that up when open beta comes out. But you can start to collect that so you can mint it at the time of open beta. So it's kind of that taste of interoperability. And I'm almost certain that even though there's a select amount of land out there right now, I'm almost certain the daily active users for land because of that is actually much higher than it is on Overworld or Arena, where we haven't really had a taste of that interoperability yet. So it's obvious that people are looking forward to this experience, and we can see that already where it's kind of like it's being half done right now without the minting, just the prepping for it already, and we can see that in action right now, which is really interesting to see.
100%. It's pretty interesting to see, like, all these intricacies, between like these different games under Illuvium. Like it all comes, full circle. Comes full circle when you have a very powerful IP. right? I mean, if it was a ship, like the IP is the anchor that keeps the ship afloat. As you said, you might fall flat on the face, but you always have something to go back to, right? Like there's nothing stopping you of from releasing another game mode that maybe other people or what's hot right now would be playing. But then they know the Illuvials. They might have a couple of NFTs that they got back a couple of months, a couple of years ago. But then there is always something to go back to. And aside from that, like having different games also gives you a lot more economic flexibility. I mean, we've been talking about this with me and my friends, right? Like there can be some resources that you can get in one game mode that needs to be used to get to another level in a different game mode. I agree with you, Andrew. That there is a bigger need for a lot more dynamics between one project. You can't be stuck with one game. You can't be stuck with a set of characters. You have one, it has to be fresh. Two, it has to be visually pleasing. I mean, we have guys running on double 4090s at their home PCs watching right now, and
God.
what a waste if we're not going to be putting those to use, right? Go ahead, Andrew.
No, I was just waving my hand. I just picked up a 4090 myself. So hardcore PC
Exactly,
people, let's
right?
go, baby!
Nice.
It looks so good.
Yeah, let's put those GPUs to work.
Mad.
I think the key here, and we mentioned this earlier, I think the whole Illuvium interoperable game universe, at least this first bundle of games we're releasing, is all going to depend on PvP and arena being really compelling, really deep, and being really replayable, like a team fight tactics type of game, where the repeatability and the progression there and the competition, and then eventually esports ends up kind of becoming the core of the player base and the motivation for people to play the other games, because it all kind of feeds into the arena. It feeds into beating other players. And so that's why I'm so excited about our upcoming arena PvP beta test. I'm not going to spill the beans on all the secrets there right now, but we have gotten the brief from the development team on what's going to be included. It's more extensive than I was anticipating. And all of the feedback we're going to get from people on that PvP is going to be critical for us to be able to go into open beta. And the way that we see this kind of playing out right now is we do this beta test, we go into open beta, and already people are doing tournaments around Illuvium, like with just survival mode right now. Like they're chomping at the bit to have a competitive scene exist for this game. And it's not even really conducive to a competitive scene yet, let's be honest. And so as we get PvP into place, then we get future features like spectator mode and replay mode and these sorts of esports compatible and also influencer compatible features that are going to allow influencers to play back battles, to analyze them, to do commentary on top. I feel like, and maybe I'm going to be wrong here, maybe Overworld is going to be the showstopper, but I feel like the arena is going to be the core of the initial interest around this game and people wanting to win in this essentially like a new school, chess style game. And so this PvP release is really big for us. We're going to be doing, TSG and I and the team are going to be doing as much marketing as we can around this, just to show the product, to show the features, and to also help everybody understand where our vision is and where the community's vision is for competitive Illuvium play. And already the marketing sub-council is like, how can we do tournaments? How can we do competitive? How can we fire this up? And so it's going to be a step-by-step process, I think, in a competitive Illuvium scene, where right now you have sort of like grassroots people wanting to play competitively in a game that's not ready for competitive. We saw that with other games that became esports in the past. It starts kind of grassroots, then it becomes community tournaments, then it becomes sort of exhibition style, supported by the developer and publisher style exhibition tournaments. Then you do sort of a tester, let's call it minor league sort of esports tester, where you bring in some esports players who start getting the interest of teams. Then you do like a limited scope esports league, like season 1 of a league. And so I understand that that's a progression the community is asking for It's something that we're a decentralized, autonomous organization. This is what the community wants, and this is the vision they see. This is the vision we see as well. But I just want to set expectations with everyone. We're testing PvP Arena here when this comes out, and it's not going to be esports ready. And we don't, we as Illuvium, we're not pretending like we have an esport right now. We're going to let this grow step by step by step organically, make sure the games are solid, make sure the player base is there, make sure everything is ready, and then steadily progress into, I think, having PvP be the core, the centerpiece, and sort of the heart of the Illuvium community, and then building around that. Curious to know your thoughts on it, because it's interesting. I think that's where most of the player action will happen, is in the PvP in the arena. But it's funny, when we released that trailer you were mentioning earlier, all the comments were about like, holy shit, look at the overworld, it's so gorgeous. So, ultimately the players and their interest determines where our focus will be. So I'm curious to know your thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on competitive arena being the hook and what gets people to play versus overworld? Do you feel like these are equal, or is there a different audience for them? Curious to get your takes on it.
Yeah. I mean, I have 2 cents on it, but I mean, ACLs is your guy. Like, this guy loves competitive games. But I mean, from my end, from what I see, right, from a guild standpoint, facing the community 24/7 is, like, we'd love to hear what do you guys see guild versus guild looks like. I mean, competitive is a no-brainer. And I personally believe if it's not a single player game, if you have an online factor to it, like, you definitely have to at least put like 50% of the community's attention into competitive play, because you're going to be spending time, you're going to be spending lots of hours, day in and day out, exploring the whole game. But then it also has, to come back and what do I actually use this time that I invested in the game too? Like, I mean, my character has collected all these Illuvials. I have progressed in the game personally, but then what do I do after, right? And if you have, a competitive side of it, if you have players who are looking forward to the next, Illuvium Open or the next, Southeast Asia qualifiers, then I think that there is a higher probability for more people to trickle in. Like, once the game is out, there are people who will be hearing about the game for the first time and seeing a very, a very, very well, built out competitive scene for the game itself. It just really hooks people more. There's going to be a lot more affinity to a game that has a very healthy competitive scene. And, it's a AAA game. Who doesn't love AAA games with esports, right? I mean, no ACLs. How about you?
Yeah, man. Honestly, I got to touch on some of Andrew's comments. Like, when we're looking at which experience would be the most fit for competitive, personally, I think it is the arena. And the reason is because, like, I used to, participate in a lot of Pokemon tournaments locally and all that. Like, I grew up in that age where this stuff was really popular, right? And Illuvium gives me like the nostalgia, but it takes it to another level. Like, it's got so many different elements, from modern game experiences and even like animated. I'm sure you guys have like anime inspirations as well, or sci-fi like inspirations as well on this game. Like, I see Halo, I see Destiny, like at first glance here, but there's a lot of good things going on. But I can definitely see this game taking off with tournaments for the arena. People are going to be grinding, going into overworld, trying to get their Illuvials, just like how we did with Pokemon, that exploration adventure aspect. We build the best team possible, find the rarest Illuvials, we show up to these local events or these online tournaments that are structured, and that's where the esports will take place. Like you said, you'll have these streamer features where you have casters and you're able to watch the battles take place, and everyone will be there basically laying it all out in the arena to see who's the best and who's the best tactician and who has the best strategy and the best Illuvials, right? So it's all set in place. I can see it taking off. I can see this, being maybe a local GameStop event, and you've got people showing up for an Illuvium tournament, battling it out. So I look forward to that. I bet it's gonna happen. I don't doubt that. I will be there when it does. So I'm saying that on Arena, that's where the competition's at.
No, all right. So I'm gonna go a little bit like I'm gonna go in and out, and I'll explain why. So one of the things I kind of, Andrew, you've mentioned this previously, and I've learned this from you, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's four things that really make a game last a long time, right? And it makes it great for influencers and content. And the four things are that you can have role playing in it. It's got unlimited updates. So role playing, unlimited updates, competitive, and what was the last one? I totally forgot the last one. I was just thinking about it before.
Well, another one that makes for big games, which we have not announced, is modability. Right?
Yes, I was going to say user-generated content.
All of these factors add up to, is there an infinite amount of content that can be created from your game? And those are usually the attributes that result in infinite content creator possibilities. That's why games like Minecraft and GTA 5, for example, are the biggest games, right?
Yeah. And so with that in mind, I think where we're going to see more of that is actually going to be Overworld, but this is what I think is going to happen. I think as we are currently even pre open beta, all the eyes are going to be on Overworld just because how beautiful it is, and that's the thing that is easy to kind of understand, right? Auto battlers are a pretty niche genre. It's a pretty niche genre, whereas an Overworld RPG, it's pretty easy to understand. So right now, Overworld's going to win. When PvP comes out and open beta comes out, I think PvP is going to take the lead a little bit. And what I think then is going to happen is we're going to go shift back into Overworld, as we're still so early in development of Overworld with the wakes. I know that the team has discussed that they actually want to have the Illuvials roaming around in the Overworld. That is something that is kind of like the end goal. So I think until that happens, I think PvP is going to take that top spot. When that happens, I think Overworld's going to go back, and then in that time to get there, I think that PvP and esports is going to have developed in an organic grassroots way. Maybe it's up to a part where we're already kind of getting involved. And what that's going to do is that's going to build narratives and storylines. At that point, maybe we have a documentary out about some of the storylines and some of the top players already. That then it might come in and inspire more people to come in. And that's where I see PvP taking that top spot again. And I think that's where we're going to run away with PvP. As a content creator, I can imagine if I really want to sit down and like play, I'll do PvP. If I want to just chat and just chill out, I might just do some Overworld, right? It depends on the mood of the content creator. So I think there are going to be really high intensity moments on both games as a content creator and as a viewer that you'd want to see. So I think it's going to go back and forth. I don't think there's going to be just guaranteed one, because like I say, no matter what, auto battles are a niche. And so I think we're going to go back and forth. I think there's just that seems like a natural kind of progression to me.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and to go back to the original question, which was like, how can guilds be involved, and like, what's the role of a guild with Illuvium? So the problem with answering that question, as you are aware, as a guild, is different guilds identify with different attributes or business models, and there's a wide spectrum of what a guild is. In the Web 2 world, back when guilds were getting started and I was working with guilds to get Web 2 businesses going, they were more or less just like a private forum, online community that played a video game together. Now in Web 3, guilds are that, plus some of them regard themselves as a pseudo VC investing pool type of thing, depends on which one you're talking to. Some of them regard themselves as like a competitive esports type of organization, and that's the direction they're going. Some of them regard themselves as a media organization, and they're going into crypto or Web3 media. It all varies depending on the guild. But the obvious paths for Illuvium, for guilds, is number one, owning assets like land or otherwise, and being able to rent those out potentially. And having that be a business model, if you will, for guilds to participate and to get more people involved. Number two, obviously, putting together competitive teams to compete in Illuvium events and esports in the future. That's a no-brainer. And let me know if my video is looking bad or if I sound robot-y. I'm getting an error message here.
Perfect.
I'm good? Okay. I don't know. Restream's giving me an error message. So obviously, participating in competitive is one thing. And then the third thing, and we've brainstormed, and I'd love to know what you guys want, and feel free to tell us right here. We've brainstormed a ton of different ways for guilds to identify as being a guild in the game, and to potentially receive exclusive access or benefits to things as a guild. So ideas and features that have been fully planned out in the past but have not yet been implemented include things like having a guild-specific badge over the top of your avatar in the games, and there's like a design slot that was there for that. That was an idea in the past, and having even like NFT gated or guild-specific competitive events, and then also potentially having things like guild leaderboards for guilds to compete with each other. And then also outside of the games, guild incentive programs for guilds to participate and recruit and bring people into Illuvium, and to maybe receive some upside from that. So these are all different guild-related programs we've talked about and planned out and spec'd in the past, but those haven't been launched at this point yet because we're still pre-open beta. And we don't want to waste the time of guilds spending hundreds of hours of their time and hundreds of hours of our time, you know, really diving into these programs and features until we have free-to-play games in the market that you can actually bring users into. Then it makes sense to do these collaborations with guilds because there's a real product that everybody can really enjoy and a real experience. Then it's time to double down on guild participation, in my opinion, not just dreaming of a world where one day you could play these cool-looking video games that are actually gated behind beta tester codes. So that's the way we've been thinking about it, and I think that a big part of our strategy in the future, when we ramp up marketing once again for Illuvium, moving toward open beta and launch window, is doubling down on guild engagement and getting the ideas directly from guilds on what they want and taking it from there. But there's a bunch of no-brainer ones that are going to happen anyway. Like I mentioned, the rental and the competitive aspects, those are going to happen no matter what. And then really the part that we need to figure out is what's the icing on top that guilds want in the game that's like a special thing just for guilds that incentivizes a user who's not in a guild, who's playing the game, sees like a YGG player they're going PvP against with a badge there or some exclusive benefit, and they go, damn, I want to be in a guild now because I'm missing out. We need to work with guilds to understand what those features are so that the game actually recruits for your guild with these built-in features. That's where my head is going with this, and that's what could make Illuvium provide more value to guilds. Curious to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it goes both ways, right? Like, you know, having a very friendly, guild system or having features for any other guild to plug into, benefits both parties. I mean, a new player hopping onto the game, looking for a guild to play with, having, let's say, a guild dashboard or, I don't know, like a recruitment system in game, basically just matches these players to wherever teams they want to play for. But on the other side of things, like what we're doing in YGG, we've been doubling down on reputational systems. So soulbound NFTs, guild badges, and we've seen this implemented with our other game partners, where, as you said, you hop into the game, it's your first time to register, you drop in the first town, and you already see your guild badge popping up on top of your head. I mean, these are still very, it's still a very fundamental level. But then you could see, all the possibilities, and you could imagine, having different guilds, giving them access to the same features. I mean, how cool would it be, when Illuvium opens its gates and players drop in for the first time, guild badges are plugged in, everyone sees where each player is from, PvP is open, then, it just snowballs from there. I mean, we might be getting ahead of ourselves, but one thing that I am, very happy with Illuvium and what you guys are building is that, you have a set runway and you have a vision in mind that other people can understand, like good graphics, different game modes. I mean, you guys even started, the original tagline of Illuvium is fight for ETH, right? And, I mean, maybe you could touch on that, guys. Like, how has fight for ETH evolved to, and what can we expect in the near future?
Yeah, as far as the tagline is concerned, I'll just share, I don't know if I've said this publicly, but I did extensive work with the marketing team, creating new messaging for Illuvium, alternative taglines. I went through this whole brand scripting process. I've done this for a living for a long time. At the end of the day, I brought it to the team and the Warwicks, and they're like, we just like Fight for ETH. And I can't say exactly why that's the tagline, because it is tied directly into the lore of Illuvium, which we're keeping very secret right now, the in-game lore. So there's the obvious references to other things, right? Like external things with Fight for ETH, but there's actually in-game lore that has meaning for, and we want players to discover that when they play through the story aspects of Illuvium for the first time. And so if I said more than that, Aaron Warwick would literally come here to New York to murder me right now.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I told you more insights, I'd actually be spoiling core story aspects and lore aspects of Illuvium. That's the crazy thing, is like people love the characters, they love the aesthetic, they love the regions they're seeing, they love all of these aspects of lore that we've kind of shown people, but people don't know nothing about the story of Illuvium. They know nothing at all. They don't know why any of this stuff is there. And you're seeing things on the screen right now in the gameplay you're playing, and on the screen right now in the beta, that you just kind of assume is a cool, pretty graphic or something. It's actually
There's a reason.
Deeply tied into the lore, and you actually have no idea what's going on.
Interesting.
The lore is effing crazy in Illuvium.
Yeah.
Aaron walked us through it like a year and a half ago for like an hour and a half. He like laid out the whole lore. He like read it like a storybook to us, and like we can read all of it. It is so nuts and unexpected. It's just crazy. And so he doesn't want to. He was really inspired by Myst. It's an old school PC game. It's okay if you're not over 45 or whatever and played that game, but it was a game where you were dropped in the middle of this game universe that was wild and fantastical and sci-fi and out there. And you had no idea what was going on in terms of the story or why everything was weird or looking different to you. Illuvium is like that when you get dropped into the actual game. And so these are going to be very unexpected, I think, moments for people to discover what the lore is. And they're like, what? That's what's going on? Because that was my reaction.
Yeah.
You're getting
I will second that. He's not like exaggerating. It's that, like, legitimately, yeah. Like I read it and I was like, what the hell? Like, what is going? Yeah, I'm excited, and yeah, I think it's the best kept secret. I'm glad that no one knows anything about it, Andrew. No one knows anything about it. It's crazy that it's.
I know, and it's hard to describe it, like, because it's so unexpected. But people think like, oh, you're a hero and you're on a space planet and collecting creatures and battling to become better hero. It's like, no. The story is so unexpected. It takes such weird twists and turns. The reason why things are even the way they are, you're like, what?
Yeah,
it's like kind of like brain popping sci-fi unexpected twists. And so anyway, as a long answer to say, Fight for ETH is deeply tied into that unexpected lore that people have yet to experience. There will be cinematic sequences. Obviously, there's going to be in-game lore and dialogue and these sorts of things that you get to experience that story. And we can't wait to see what the reaction is. And then everybody will understand why that tagline is what it is once they experience that story.
Nice.
Go ahead, ACLs. You were saying something.
Yeah, honestly, we had a glimpse of the story, early on. Not too much, but just a taste. And it's already pretty interesting. Like, it has that sci-fi element, like you said, where these rangers, they crash land on a planet. And there's this whole, lore that has unfolded there, whether a cataclysm has taken place or whatever it may be that leaves this planet the way it is. So it's already got me interested. And you've already spilled quite a bit of beans, and now you've got me even more excited about what the story really entails. And I just want to touch on like the creator side of things, as we were talking about a little while ago. Tarren and everybody involved at Illuvium, you guys have been so great as far as collaborating with the community and getting different guilds and creators involved in the game and being able to bring more players in that way at the community level. So shout out to you guys, doing a great thing. And as far as the guild aspect, what we'd like to see in the game, I think it would be cool not only to have a visible badge and have that recognition in game, but maybe even being able to represent our colors within cosmetics or our guild branding and badges with items or accessories, maybe a shield or a weapon of some sort, whatever it may be. But being able to actually represent your guild brand in game would be pretty unique and would be very translatable to esports competition as well, because then you'd have that guild color aspect while you're in the arena battling it out. So I think that would be cool, just throwing it out there. But overall, I love what's happening, and it's been a great discussion so far. I'm excited.
So just so you know, we've had deep discussions about all of that, and we need, I think, and sorry TSG, we need you guys to continue to push for that and wanting that, and to express your interest for that, because everybody is fighting. The way it works with a decentralized game studio, it's like a democracy, right? And just like in a democracy, whichever interest groups push for what they want harder and are louder and are the squeakier wheel, get their things developed and implemented into the government in that case, and in this case the games, faster, and get theirs prioritized. So I encourage you guys, as well as any other guilds that happen to be watching this right now, to please push for the guild features that you want, to be loud, to be noisy within the community. It's very much this decentralized, democratic type of decision making. And if we see that sort of interest and that sort of push from you guys and otherwise, then it's going to force us to prioritize those features. Whereas otherwise they kind of get it's like it's a nice to have category. But if the community is demanding it, then it becomes a need. It becomes a must have. And so you guys are a part of that process, and this interview is a part of that process. So thank you for that. But yes, obviously people want to rep in game and proudly show that they're a part of your guild and be able to identify that they're, a part of this particular organization. And then I have ideas that we can discuss with you later on, how to even have tiers within that, and really build that out. If that's a feature that people are going bananas for, we need people to really express that interest constantly, because we are coming up soon on open beta, which means we are coming up after that at launch. And if you're describing that your vision and your wants as a guild is to have that be at launch, this needs to be pushed for. This needs to be scoped out, and this needs to be put into the pipeline if these sorts of features are going to be ready in time.
Yeah, I know it's early, but just that idea, that concept, like you mentioned earlier, what's going to entice a player in the game when they're in the overworld and interacting with other players? What do they see that makes them want to join a guild, right? That would be something that is like, oh, whoa, like, they have unique shields and unique items. They're able to represent their colors. Like, that's pretty cool. It's not just the badge over my head representing the guild in game. You've got some, very personable items there too. So it's early. It would be cool to see down the road. Those of you who agree, push for it. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you some specific ideas that could happen, and these aren't promises, but these are specific ideas that a guild version can be created. And I'm sorry, I have to go in just a minute. I have a meeting to take. But things like branded battle boards, maybe branded as a specific guild, for example, or a guild branded skin for your drone or for your armor. Obviously, leaderboards in the overworld and for Illuvium 0 and for Arena, having some sort of guild indicator or logo or color or whatever for that. And then obviously in PvP in Arena, if you're able to implement that sort of guild identifier when you're playing the other player and seeing your guild identifier being empty or whatever. Those are all, that basically puts it everywhere on the leaderboard for every game. Literally the skin of the arenas, right? And your character in the game. And when you're facing the other player, it's in your face what tribe you're rolling with, what guild you're rolling with or not. So those are all like systems that are already built where you just have to make like a guild specific version of it, right? Like we don't have to build an entirely new system and then put in a YGG or whatever branded thing there. So those are easier paths, let's say, to integrate like guild branding and guild community into the games.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, so Andrew, you mentioned that you have to drop, so feel free. You're good. Thank you so much for your time, man. And I mean, even TSG, ACL, so the community, we have a bunch of questions. We're going to be answering that in a bit. But yeah, feel free to go if you guys have something else. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's been a while. We've been waiting for this AMA. We've had, a lot of anticipation in the community, and it's really, really good to see, all the progress. And again, Andrew, for all the alpha and all the stuff that you've been working on, like keep it coming. The community loves it, and we can't wait to hear more from you guys. And yeah, TSG will be sticking around to answer some questions with the community. Andrew, hats off, man. We love the work, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you. I'll take the first question. Hit me with a question. Let's
Hey,
go. I don't
let's
want to leave
go.
everybody hanging. Let's
Right.
go. Hit me with a
Let's go,
question.
let's
Go,
go.
go.
I have a pretty interesting question here from one of our community members. So it's from Jelly Quinn. So Jelly's asking, so what are going to be, the advantages of having, different tiers of alluvials? So we've talked about, merging and forging and all of that. So what can we expect from, having NFTs, and how does that, translate into the game?
Right. So if you haven't already played Overworld and tested the forging system, which is a great way to get an idea of how that system works, if you haven't experienced it yourself, there is an official tutorial I produced on the main Illuvium channel that demos that system. Just go look for the forging timestamp and you'll see it. But basically, as you're running lower stage runs in the overworld, and you're collecting, let's say, lower level alluvials, let's call it, just to simplify, you can basically take those, combine them, and then forge and create a new alluvial in the forge. And it burns those NFTs to create a new alluvial that's more powerful. So similar to, like, let's say Pokemon games, where you'll, let's say Pokemon Go, I think you can, like, you don't kill your Pokemon, but you turn them in for candies or whatever, so that you can upgrade your Pokemon and eventually evolve it. It's similar in Illuvium, where you can collect alluvials, you can burn those in and forge for a more powerful alluvial. So that no matter what you collect in the overworld, no matter what you capture, there's always a path for it to become upgraded and to become more powerful. The key thing to remember here, though, and this is something that's really important, in a game like Pokemon, just having more powerful Pokemon is like the ultimate goal, and you're going to win that way. In Illuvium, that's not the case because of dimensional instability. So there's a certain dimensional instability, and also the limited number of points, mastery points, that you can have in the arena. And so this puts a cap and a strategic constraint on you to where you may not want to deploy. In fact, most of the time, you aren't going to want to deploy your most powerful alluvials to beat the enemy team. In fact, the best strategy is to deploy the least amount of power in terms of your alluvials and most effectively counter the enemy team, maybe with your less powerful alluvials, for the least amount of mastery points possible, which can give you a significant advantage versus your opponent. So that's what makes Illuvium strategically a lot more interesting. It's not just like let me get the highest level stuff, or let me get the most powerful alluvials and I get to stomp everybody and I win. It's more about how do I most effectively use my mastery points and my kind of like low mastery point cost alluvials to counter the enemy team. And so that makes it so that alluvials, at the bottom, let's say the stage 1s and the stage 2s and the stage 3s, are strategically appropriate and strategically optimal, all of them, for different circumstances, not just stage 3s and the most powerful being the best option all of the time. And so this is the balance between, ultimately, the best players are going to have the most widest ranges available to them to react to the situation that they're in to counter the enemy team. It's not just about stacking the most powerful stage 3s and stomping everyone. Does that make sense?
100%. Nice.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
yeah, some sort of, balances games that, tend to be pay to win, right? So you're giving chance to everyone who might not have access to the strongest alluvials, but at the same time, people who play casually can collect these alluvials and also, just build out their own teams and, play hop in and out, whatever. And if they want to play competitively, that's the time, they have to expand and get more alluvials and build their arsenals. Thank you so much, Andrew. Hope you answered your question, Jelly. And yeah, we're going to be continuing this right after. So guys, don't forget to follow Andrew Wall. He's going to be dropping us more alpha as the days go by. And yeah, I'm excited to see you again, buddy. Thanks, man.
I'll take one more question. One more. I don't want to leave the community hanging. One more question. Hit me with it. Go. And then I'll see
ACL,
you with
go
the
for
rest
it.
of them.
Just loving it. All right, I'll throw a curveball at you because I really want to know something about this. If you can spill some beans. The GameStop scenario. I will tell you this for a fact. In my area, if I go to any GameStop within, let's say, 30 kilometers, they don't know what an NFT is. They don't know anything about Web3. They don't even know GameStop NFT exists at location, right? I want to know, with Illuvium partnering with GameStop, bringing these NFTs, these, GameStop collab discs to market, what's the plan here to, make this recognized or make this known? Is there any type of blueprint in place with Illuvium and GameStop to get this to market and, get people aware of NFTs at GameStop? Because right now they do not know anything. It doesn't exist at GameStop.
Cool. Yo, Andrew, are you back?
Yeah, did you get that, Andrew?
No, if you caught some of that.
He's halfway there.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Oh, you love the anticipation, Andrew, for wanting
man.
to
It's a good question, though.
It was a great question.
The internet's calling you back.
Yo, I love it. Andrew's so particular about all of this audio tech stuff. This is pretty funny to see him go through this. I apologize.
Good. I appreciate him wanting to be here, to be honest. He had to run out, but
100%.
he's just hanging on to questions. So.
And taking 2 more questions.
stuff.
Andrew, you okay?
Yeah. All right, cool.
man.
So I'll answer. So the question is, how do most people don't actually even know about anything to do with NFTs. How do we make them aware of it? I think it's gonna be a slow thing. It's not just gonna be you wake up overnight and then everyone kind of knows. Sorry, I'm keeping my eye over here because. All right. Sorry, Andrew's just messaging me. I'll reply to him in a bit. Yeah, I think it's going to be a slow burn. It's not going to be an immediate thing. We had that one collaboration with GameStop for a week for the Illuvitar sale. So that was a thing. Yeah, I think something like that is we go back to IP and building that out and actually delivering a product where people look. The way I look at it is, I don't think NFTs, like the phrase NFT, is going to be a thing. It's just going to be a feature. I think right now we're talking about like the technology way too much, and it's just going to be a feature that's expected. The same way that we now all have I don't know about where you guys live, but like we all have 5G on our phones. Like we don't go around, oh, do you have 5G? It's like, yo, are you connected to the internet, right? It's just like, it's a given. Like, oh man, do you have data? Those are the type of questions that we're asking. We're not mentioning the technology itself. And I think that's going to be the same thing here with this. And I think we have, honestly, quite some time to go before we actually get to that point where, again, this is what we're trying to do, especially linking up with Immutable X and Immutable Passport, where you don't need a MetaMask to do any of these things. You just chuck in your email, they create a custodial wallet for you, and you just get to play the game. Whether you want to learn about that after that, that's on you. But it's a game first and foremost, right? So I think once we start having that, the ease of access, the ease of onboarding, and again, it becomes just a feature of the game. Oh, by the way, you can sell this. You don't even need to say, by the way, guys, this is an NFT and this is what it means. None of that. You say, hey guys, you collected the skin, you can now sell it on this marketplace. Boom, a feature. That's it. I think that's going to take some time. Honestly, I think in the a couple of years ago in 2021, when capital was flowing incredibly freely in the markets, and everyone was like, yo, crypto gaming is going to happen next year. Like we were all again, when we were talking about interoperability, having Baby Yoda in this game and that game and all of this, yeah. I think we were super bullish on the idea that adoption was going to come very quickly. And I think we're honestly seeing the same thing happening now with AI. It was like, AI is it's going to take time, guys. Relax, settle down. Even with VR, it's like we want to go from A to Z without even taking a step to B. Like we haven't even mastered AI yet. You think human beings are going to like... So regarding,
I think we're like in the Nintendo stage with some stuff. We're still experiencing NES level tech for a lot of these markets. And I mean, we want like Xbox One X already.
Exactly. And I mean, like, it's good. It means that we're driving for something. We have an objective to aim towards. It's great that we have that, but I think we need to be realistic. So in regards to the NFT question, I think it's going to take time. And I think it's going to happen quite naturally over time as it becomes a feature that's not even highlighted. It's just, guys, this is what is expected in games, rather than, yo, guys, let me put a torchlight over here. Look over here. These are NFTs. I think that's definitely the wrong way to be going. My opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think it's interesting because like we're in this stage where I think Illuvium's collaboration with GameStop, it's very Web3 focused. Like it's focused on that market because like whatever approach this collab is with GameStop, they don't even advertise it on location, right? They only have it on their GameStop NFT platforms. But if you go to a GameStop, there's nothing Illuvium there at all, right? So I get what you mean about slowly getting there. I agree with you about the language and all that. It really doesn't matter. Like the technology just needs to be there in the background and people need to see good games. But I'm just curious, how it's going to roll forward. I know the sentiment's bad for NFTs. I know gamers don't really want to see that clash into the way things are right now. So yeah, it's just slow going. We'll see what happens, man. It's just under the radar right now.
Exactly. It's interesting you bring up those two things, right? And again, I don't know how much you guys are aware of the adoption curve, right? Of early adopters, late comers, and things like that. It's like I think we're still very, very early. And the two things that you kind of mentioned of Illuvium not being on location at GameStop, why would we be? We're not a proven IP. That's a massive risk for them to take if that was part of anything. Like if I was, and they're a publicly listed company. If I was a publicly listed company and I had a new IP in a new area of technology, Web3 and NFTs that hasn't even been proven yet, would I take that risk? Absolutely not, no chance. So I think we need to look at it quite realistically and understand that there are steps to it. Again, instead of going from A to Z, what are the steps in between, right? How do we do that? How do we gain that trust? How do we do things like that? And the second part of you saying, people are just against NFTs, games are against NFTs. I'm sure you guys have seen the thing with Call of Duty, right? Or was it Warzone? Call of Duty Warzone? That just happened where Warzone 1 got shut down and all the skins were... This happened like this week where Warzone 1 is... They've kind of said that there's a date. It's shutting down all the money spent. People are up in arms and they don't understand. They still don't understand. Those same people, if you ask them about NFTs, they'll be like, nah, it's the worst thing to happen. And they don't... It hasn't connected yet that the issue that they're having is solved with this new technology. So again, understanding the adoption curve, we are very, very early. All of us here, we're not the innovators. I think we're the early. I can't speak for you guys. I definitely am not the innovator. I wasn't here super early. I think I'm personally one of the early adopters, and I think we still have a long way to go before we kind of reach that curve of mass adoption. Again, they don't even have that connection yet between the problem that they're having and the solution. It still hasn't connected, and it's going to take time. It takes time, man. It takes time.
I agree. I mean, I always say, right, like the first step to mass adoption is by people or gamers, treating this like second nature, right? More and more people coming in, playing the game because, they like the game, they like the IP. And as you said, NFTs will be a feature, something that you can toggle on and off. If you want your, item to be opened in the other game mode or, put in the open market. And I think it works the same way for a lot of, early technologies, right? You don't always, get the best feedback, especially from a community who is used and tied to a way of doing things. And I think what we're doing here, especially you guys over at Illuvium, right, is you're trying to, set the standard for all the other games moving forward, changing the game on how you onboard players, changing how you make the game, and, just setting a lot higher expectations of what people who know NFTs as of right now, and changing that into something that is actually very palatable for everyone else, right? People who are afraid of NFTs or, these Web3 and up and coming games who promise, this, promise that. But at the very center of it, right? Like what is the game actually really about? Like what are we playing and how many people really love playing the game? But then again, the technology is a tool that will be helping us moving forward, the next maybe 3-5 years. Illuvium itself, a AAA game takes at least 5 years to make, right? And with the progress that you guys have been making over the past few months, the past few years, it's something that, right? It's not something that you just turn your head around to, right? But yeah, so we love what you guys are doing, and everyone at home. So if you guys have just tuned in, do not worry because the AMA will be uploaded right after automatically on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. So if your friends missed the AMA tonight, make sure to send that over. And of course, we have some links on the screen. Make sure to like and follow. Of course, if you aren't on the Illuvium Discord yet, make sure that you drop by because this is where the 101 is given out. So
Yes.
yeah, I mean, right after go ahead. You're going to be saying something?
No, I was just gonna say yes. And actually, I just wanted to I wanted to mention something that you've kind of brought up a few times, and I just want to address it really quickly. The importance of IP. We've talked about IP, and it's crazy to me how short term a lot of the things that we're seeing are, right? They just don't consider IP at all, and how important that is. If you look at, and I'm going to name 3 that I'm coming up with right now, is Harry Potter, how important that IP was. If you look at the games, right? And I mean, the movies, all right, let's say the movies were good. I disagree, but let's say the movies are good. But if we're talking about the games were absolute trash. All the games were absolute trash, but they still sold. Why? Because of the IP. And people came back again and again. Why? Because of the IP. Until we finally got Hogwarts Legacy and everyone lost their minds. That was incredible. And then we've had Call of Duty. I've never played Call of Duty in my life. I just despise first-person shooters like that. I just can't. But my brother's super into it. My friends are super into it. And they get it every single year. Pretty much as it drops every year. They get the new one every year. And there's been a couple of times now where I've gone over to their place and they're like, yo, Call of Duty. I'm like, all right, cool. They put it on. And the game that they bought is unfinished. They don't have multiplayer or there's just so much that's not working on launch. And I'm like, bro, how did you pay full price for this? But why do they do that year on year on year? IP. And the IP of that isn't even crazy. It's legitimately just a title. Like they've got a bit of the story with Modern Warfare and things like that, but that's how much my friends play this. I don't play this and I know that. But the IP is so powerful that people keep coming back even after a bad product. Pokemon. Bro, Pokemon. When was the last time they released a good game? Every single time they drop a game, it is criticized. It's horrible. But guess what? Every time they drop a game, it does better and better sales, as if they're gonna magically turn this around. It's nuts. But why are people so loyal to it? It's the IP.
Exactly.
And so I think a lot of people. It's
like
so
it's 100% true. Like I bought all these Pokemon games for my daughter. She plays them, and even she'll be grinding these games, and like the graphics are great. Like the open world, it's new, it's cool, but the story sucks. The game's boring. Like that's just being honest. And I love Pokemon. Yeah, and I love Pokemon.
You just sit there. You could be eating, having a conversation with someone, and just press A and finish the game. Like
it's all like hand holding. You are guided through a playthrough. It's no longer
the power
like
of IP. That's the power of IP, and I think people need to understand that, right? And I've had this conversation with Kieran and the guys on the team. With the IP that we're having, there's so much opportunity that we still have to really maximize it. In regards to, we have over 180 characters, and the beautiful thing about that is, and I'll be honest, I transparently I got this idea from Gary V with what he's done with V Friends. But there's so many characters, and all of us, I guarantee, have different personalities, which means that all of us are going to relate to different characters in the Illuvium universe. If we start putting out short clips of a minute or 30 seconds of characters interacting with each other, it starts to build lore, it starts to build kind of personality. Yes. I'm going to relate to one more than you are, so on and so forth. But then it starts to create this emotional attachment to the IP, and that's super important. And the fact that other people aren't doing this, or is not even kind of people just, we're making a game. So is everyone else. Everyone else is making a game. Like why would someone get involved with your brand? Like I think attention is hard to really hold on to these days. You need to have a reason to do so.
Yeah. I mean, the Diablo 4, right? Like they just crossed like 600 million in sales recently, right? And like what happens really to the other guys playing like 2 and 3, right? I mean, there's nothing else that you have no choice but to play 4. I mean, I myself am a Diablo fan. I mean, the only reason that I haven't been knee deep into it is just I don't have time to play just yet right now. But once I get the free time, just because I love my first experience with Diablo, the first time I opened it, first time I installed it on my PC, like I mean, spending a couple of bucks, being able to see what they're up to now, like wouldn't really hurt, right? I mean, I might not play as ACLs or the other guys here will be playing it, but the fact that I want to check out how a game has evolved from what I knew it was before, I mean, that's where having a really strong affinity with the game benefits developers. And why can't we also have that in Web3? I mean, for me, it's a lot easier to do that in Web3 right? We have a whole new community. We have a whole new generation of gamers, open to all these ideas and possibilities of what games of the future will look like. And yeah, at the end of the day, if you have something to go back to, something that you loved the first time you saw it, then I think you have something there.
Mhm. Agreed. And which is also why that first impression is super important. And I think Andrew kind of mentioned that before as well with what our kind of strategy for esports. A lot of people in the community have this idea of, let's just reach out to this and do a tournament straight off the bat. It's like, guys, we're like, you need to actually understand that their first impression means a lot. If you do come in and there's a point of resistance, the example I kind of came up with today, I've had a couple of AMAs today, but the analogy I kind of came up today was I personally use an ad blocker. If there's if I open a tab and it's like disable your ad blocker, how hard is it to disable the ad blocker? It's very easy. But what do? I close the tab and find another website. Why? It's a point of resistance. And it's like, if there's any point of resistance at all in that first impression, that's it. Like, that's your chance gone. You really need to be very particular about when you're shooting your shot.
I mean, even TSG, right? It's a bit more tricky when it comes to like your department. You're dealing with content creators, and
it's relationships. It's relationships.
And like these guys, even like we're talking, micro influencers, the top tier influencers, like these guys have communities. These guys have friends who they hop on Discord with and day in and day out, and give feedback about a game that they've recently played. And I mean, as you said, like first impressions are very important, especially at this point where you are and other games are in the space. But I mean, so TSG, like maybe a follow-up question here is, how can content creators and influencers who want to get a bit further into Illuvium, how can they connect with you and your guys, and how can they help build the Illuvium game itself?
Yeah, I mean, if they want to get in touch with me, just reach out. Like, legitimately, just reach out to me. I'm not. I mean, yeah, I am busy, but I'll always try and make time. That is my job. I wouldn't be doing a good job if I didn't reply. So no, definitely reach out to me and just honestly join the Discord. Ping me in Discord if you ever do. Be like, hey man, I make content. Cool. We'll have a chat. I'll introduce you to some of the other core creators. Like we've got we've got two groups of creators, and we're very lucky at Illuvium that I've done the research. Apart from Axie, which obviously is still going well, out of all the other content, all of the other games, Illuvium, if I'm not mistaken, actually has the widest range of consistent content creators month on month. Like we have the most amount of content being created about the game with the widest range of creators. I know there are some projects that have a couple of people like dedicated to it, but like it's 2 people that create all the videos. Whereas we have like a vast variety. So we kind of split them up into our, what I do split them up is our core creators, which are the ones that are 90% Illuvium. They know the ins and outs, they do everything. And then we've got the other creators that kind of help us when on a case-by-case situation, or they cover us from time to time when a major update happens. But yeah, so like if anyone wants to join in, wants to kind of get updated, I can connect them with our core creators. I can connect them with the other creators too. But if they really want to learn about Illuvium, it's the core creators that know. I've kind of pushed the idea of collaboration super hard with us. So a lot of the core creators are doing collaborations with each other, podcasts. They're always bringing people on to do reactions together, tier lists together. They're always kind of working together and building each other up, because I think that's kind of the way to go. I think everyone's got their strengths. And in regards to what else they can do, I'm currently working on the Illuvium Creator Program. It's a work in progress. We've just got out our first affiliate links for our merch store. So the key thing here is, in all influencer marketing, there's, especially in Web3, people ask for crazy numbers and there's no way to really see what the ROI is on that. Like, it's just, guys, give me this much. And it's like, yo, relax. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to set up a system where we actually, the way that we build our game is based on quality, and we want our creators to feel the same way, right? So with something like an affiliate code, we're trying to provide you guys with a chance to actually earn. If you're a creator with actual conversions, if you have a real community behind you, you should earn off that 100%. So that's definitely something that we're doing in regards to merchandise for the time being. ACLS, like ACL. If you want to like reach out, we'll talk about that. I've done it with our core creators for the time being, and I'm going to work on it with the secondary batch of creators. But outside of that, yeah, I want to get that done for Illuvitas. I want to get that done for in the game as well. Like that, I kind of mentioned how Fortnite did it. That was genius. If you incentivize creators that they can get paid to just cover the game, why would they want to? And they enjoy it. That's the key thing. If they enjoy it, if they're gonna play the game regardless and they can earn from it, why would they play another game? Why would they play another game? Right? It's if they think they're adding value to their community because it's
they've already been doing it, right?
Exactly, right. So I think that's the direction that we that I personally want to take this. So that's what influencers can and creators can get like look forward to in the near future. I would say near future, in the future. That's kind of the direction we want to be going there.
So yeah, everyone at home, you heard it first from TSG himself. The Tarren's Creator Program is going to be rolling out pretty soon. So make sure that you are on their Discord to catch those updates. But yeah, Tarren, before we go, I'd like to ask one more question. It's actually very, it's a very interesting part of what you guys are building here. So how has the governance of the community governance in general evolved over time, and what how can we see this rolling out in the next few months as we get closer to the release of all 3 game modes, the game itself?
So that's actually a really good question. So we actually recently, I forget when, it might have been July, but very recently, we transitioned from governance V1 into governance V2. So I'm not sure how clued up you guys are on the situation, but governance V1 essentially had 5 people on governance. They were the decision makers for pretty much most of the things that went on. And now we've transitioned into governance V2. And what we've done is we've brought a bunch more people in, and we're really doubling down on the DAO aspect of being a DAO. We now have a sub-council for community, which includes 5 people from the community voted in. We've got a marketing sub-council. I think Andrew kind of mentioned that before in the conversation. So we participate in a lot of the marketing decisions. We do kind of strategies. So we've got 5 people there, 4 people plus Andrew as the team representative. We have a gaming sub-council, which is, again, 5 people making decisions specifically on the game. When we release PvP, is PvP ready? Are there things that need to be included? Things like that. Balancing, things like that. And then we've also got a strategy sub-council, which obviously does things like pricing, just long-term strategy, high-level strategy. And then all of that, we have representatives from all of those that go up into the Illuvium main council, which makes the final decisions. But we have all of that done. So yeah, we've really doubled down on the DAO thing and really making sure that the community and the people in the space have a voice and are directing us to go in the direction that they want. So it's exciting to see. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of scary that it's out of our hands and it's legitimately what they say goes. It's kind of crazy, but I think it's a good thing to have. And again, being the first iteration of V2, I think there's still a lot of improvements that need to be done. But from where we came from, miles ahead of where we came from, and it's really, really cool to see it in action now. Again, I kind of sit in most of the marketing sub-council meetings just because I'm quite close to a lot of the guys on there, and I know that they're going to reach out to me with a bunch of questions and discussions. So I'd like to know what they kind of say. It's fascinating to see. And I mean, anyone with an ILV stake is able to put their name forward during the election. So, and that happens every 6 months. Yep, 6 months. Yeah, 6 months.
Actually, shout out to our ILV game ambassador Zom for YGG. Shout out to Zom if you're watching.
Yeah, I've spoken to him a few times. I've interviewed him because before, I don't know if you guys know this, before I came on the team, I was really focused on content. I was making like a piece of content every day. Which is how I kind of built a reputation in the Illuvium space to warrant myself getting a job. But yeah, one of the things when I first came in and I didn't know anyone, and there's a big tip for any content creators, collaborate and try and build a network as quickly as possible. In not like a let me go network way, in a genuine kind of adding value way. When I first came in and I knew no one. Yeah, I knew no one. what I did was I came in just around the time of the election, and I was like, yo, I'm going to interview all of the nominees to give them a chance to kind of, because they're gonna buy into you if they can see you, right, rather than just typing stuff. So it's like, yo, come on, let me ask you some questions. And in my mind, I was like, it's great for the community. They get to see people and hear them speak. It's great for the nominees. They get a chance to put themselves out there in a different way. And also, it's great for me because I'm now in contact with everyone who has a potential of getting nominated. So I'm just going to be in with all those guys. And one of those guys was which is why I brought that up. Yeah.
So, it's honestly great.
Yeah.
I love how like collaboration is key. You know, Illuvium building in the open, structuring governance within the community, moving forward together, and making sure collaboration is the focus. So it's been great, and it's obviously paying off. Like, you know, everyone's loving it.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
I mean, Tarren, I mean, appreciate, you know, the time. Yeah, even staying with us for a bit of overtime here. But I mean, everyone at home, make sure to follow Tarren wherever you guys are going to be visiting the Illuvium Discord, Twitter as well. How do we? Drop your Twitter handles here, Tarren, for everyone at home to look.
Yeah, I'll type it in the chat here. But it's, I mean, yeah, just hit me on Discord or Twitter, whatever.
There you go.
Yeah,
And yeah,
chat.
Please flash that on screen. But yeah, everyone at home, don't go anywhere because right after this AMA, we are actually going to be just flashing a couple of videos on the latest updates from Illuvium over here, and everyone else on Discord. Make sure to stand by because we are going to be doing a quiz about tonight's AMA with the rest of the community. We got some, you know, surprises for you guys who have been listening. Make sure, I mean, I'm pretty sure some of you guys still have your notebooks out. And yeah, Tarren, it's been a pleasure. Appreciate the time. And I really hope that, you know, we get to see each other pretty soon.
Yeah.
And have some more exciting stuff for the community together with you guys at Illuvium ACLs. Good to have you. And yeah, cheers, guys. See you in the metaverse.
Appreciate both of you guys, man. Appreciate both of you guys.
Peace out.
Together
Peace out, guys.
we play. Later.